Today I'm going to show you how to make a super easy and delicious stir fry using meat or just veggies. Let's get started. So first you're going to want to prep all of the veggies ahead of time. I like to use zucchini, and when I cut these I make them a nice bite-sized piece but nice and thick, so that way it doesn't get overcooked super easily. So maybe about a ½ inch thick. And I personally like to use mushrooms, whether it's vegetarian or not. I feel like they add a really nice earthy, meaty flavor to the stir fry, and I really don't love stir fry without them. And I like to slice them whole like so into those nice big mouth-sized pieces. Next, I'll move on to the onion. This is actually a super easy way to chop an onion too for stir fry. So you don't want to do a dice. You want to do a nice big bite-sized piece. So when you do an onion, you can just slice it in half and peel it, then slice off the ends, and then you'll just do a quick sort of a wedge slice, I guess you could call it. So, and this is about 1/4 to ½ inch thick on these wedges as well. Super easy. Don't forget to save those scraps to make a vegetable stock later too. You can even save the onion skins too. Put that in your freezer. Now we'll make the super easy stir fry sauce. So I like to use low sodium soy sauce. You can use aminos if that's what you have, and some vegetable broth, or you can use chicken stock or chicken broth, whatever you have, or water. Then some minced garlic. I personally use the jarred garlic. It's just garlic and citric acid, so I don't find anything wrong with that. But if you want to use fresh, that's totally fine. Then we'll do some sesame oil, rice vinegar, and some ground ginger. And my favorite part is this local raw honey. This is the only kind of honey that I use. I highly recommend it. It is really delicious and nicely balanced sweet. You can find all kinds of different honey at your local farmer's market. So I highly recommend getting one of these instead of one of those store-bought kinds. Then after that, we'll just add a dash of red chili flakes. You can use Sriracha instead. And then cornstarch, so that way it gets nice and thick when you cook it. Then we'll just put the lid on and make sure it's nice and tight before we give it a really good shake. And make sure that everything is really well combined. Since it has the honey in it, it will take quite a bit of shaking to get it combined. And if you're going to keep this in the refrigerator before you cook, just make sure that you give it a nice good shake before you pour it into the pan when it does come time to cook. Next, I'm going to heat my stainless steel pan on medium-high to high heat until it's really nice and hot, and then I'll add my avocado oil. You can use any oil that has a high smoking point because you are going to be doing some pretty quick cooking here, so you do want to make sure that it's nice and hot. Once the oil is heated, about 45 seconds or so, then I'll add my meat. This is chicken breast chopped into bite-sized pieces, but I do like chicken thighs, pork loin, or beef strips for a stir fry. And of course you can use tofu or just veggies. It's just totally fine with no meat as well. It actually tastes really delicious that way. So I like to turn over each piece individually to get a nice sear on both sides. And once it's brown on both sides, I'll give it a nice stir until it's fully cooked through. When it comes to cooking chicken, I don't like to risk it. I like to make sure that the chicken is fully cooked through before I move on to the next step. If I'm cooking a pork loin or beef, I'm not going to be as worried about getting it all cooked through before I saute the veggies. But for chicken, I do like to take the time to make sure that all of the chicken is cooked through before I proceed. Once everything is cooked through, then I'll push it aside and leave it in the pan and sort of tip the pan so the oil goes down towards the cooking area. You can add a little bit more oil too if you don't have enough. Just add it, wait for it to be heated, and then start adding your veggies. I always add my onions first, because that really adds a little bit of flavor too before you begin sauteing everything else, and separate them so that way they get a nice sear on all sides of the onion. And after that, then you can start adding your other vegetables. Now this is all personal preference, and you can just add whatever you have on hand, but I generally like to add broccoli, which is one of my favorite things in stir fry. But if you don't like broccoli, you can add whatever you like. You can even do cauliflower, you can do snap peas. I also like to add zucchini. And if I happen to have any yellow squash on hand, I'd like to add that too. And really, again, this is all personal preference. As far as veggies go, you really can't do stir fry wrong. There's no wrong way to do stir fry. It's just an amazing combination of everything that you love. So this zucchini is from my garden, and I just had one to pick, and so it's about a medium to large zucchini. And to be honest with you, I added way too many veggies to the stir fry. I got really overly excited. You can see veggies flying out, so I did mix it and saute it a bit and realized that I needed to move some. So I put some in a separate pan after this, you can see. So when you see me moving the veggies over, that's what I was doing. I was putting them in a different pan. But I did add the mushrooms at this point as I'm moving all those extra veggies over, and gave it a good saute. And I don't like my mushrooms overcooked, so I really only cook them for a couple of minutes before I continue adding the rest of the veggies. After those veggies are cooked to my liking, I add the shredded carrots. Since they're shredded, they don't take a really long time to cook, and I do like them to still be a little bit crunchy when we're all finished. So I'll give that a nice light saute for maybe a minute or so, and then I'm going to be adding in my homemade sauce that I made just a moment ago. And that sauce does last up to 5 days in the fridge, so if you don't want to use it right away, you can keep it in the fridge for a little while. So let's give that a saute and add our sauce. And this again is another personal preference thing. It does have cornstarch in it, so the longer that you let it simmer, the thicker that it will be. So if you like it to be really saucy, you can just heat it through and be done, and add the rest, the rice or the noodles. But if you like it to be thick, then let it boil and reduce the heat and let it simmer until it's the nice thickness that you prefer. And after this, I am going to be cooking some noodles. I did not have any stir-fry noodles on hand, so all I used was veggie noodles. This is Veggie Spaghetti that I got from the store, just the dry kind, and I added that. But you can use just regular semolina flour dry pasta. You can use any pasta you like. I love the mouthfeel of a spaghetti with all these veggies. It reminds me of chow mein, but you can use any noodles that you like or anything you have on hand. A linguine, fettuccine, those will also be really good choices. I do recommend making sure that you cook them al dente though, because once you add it to the pan, it is going to continue cooking for a couple of minutes or so while you get everything stirred up. So just make sure you don't overcook the noodles. Now, if you don't like noodles, you can put this on rice, or you can just eat it as is. You don't need to add noodles or rice. Stir fry is fantastic just like that. Put it in a bowl and be done. It is delicious that way too. So now you're just going to serve it up, and you can add some hot sauce to it if you like. I love a Sriracha, but if you like chili sauce, you can add that instead. You can add some sesame seeds, some green onions, anything that you like, whatever floats your boat. Now, if you like this video, please give me that little thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more videos. And of course, put that little bell on so you can get notifications every time I post. Have a wonderful day.